call scenarios as far as your incoming calls. All right, so for that, let's start at interfaces, and the simplest call that you can have is that of a call on your FXO ports. So I click FXO. This is a QX200. I have 4 FXO ports, and I could click on any one of these and define what happens on that incoming call. So first of all, I can define whether it's incoming and outgoing, and I receive a call, which extension am I going to ring. I can also route the FXO call to an entry or pattern in my call routing table. The reason I use the word pattern is because I can even have a pattern of say like a word, like the word incoming, and I can create a matching pattern using the word incoming in my call routing table. So this is why would I want to do this? Maybe instead of going to a specific extension right away, maybe I want to put some time frames around it. Maybe incoming calls during the day, they're going to ring to a group of extensions. After hours, it goes to after hours auto attendant. The only place in the system where I can define those scheduling parameters and options is going to be in the call routing table. So instead of going directly to some extension, I may want to divert the call first to the call routing table. All right, and then here you can put in this is just a text box for description only. You just put in the phone number for reference. So you'll know that on FXO number 1, this is the phone number if I want to make a test call. You come back to that office 3 months from now, you'll know what that number is. Very easy. That's so incoming FXO calls. That's easy to define and easy to see how those work. All right. Next, we want to get into is the SIP trunking. Excuse me. Just had to get a water break. All right. So when we talk about SIP trunks, if you're not familiar with them, you're going to sign up with a service, an ITSP, Internet Telephony Service Provider, that offers the SIP trunks. They all have different packages that they offer. Maybe it's based on the number of simultaneous calls. It comes with X amount of with that package comes with X amount of minutes, North American minutes within the continental U.S. or maybe they're selling their service based on the number of DIDs. Different options. There's different ways of maybe that they don't. They'll charge you just a little bit for each DID, and then they're going to charge you a rate based on for each minute. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that they sell their services, and you just have to look at each one of them. A lot of ITSPs out there. We've worked with hundreds of them over the years, literally hundreds. And a few of them we've listed here in our configuration wizard that you'll see here in a moment. Just maybe some marketing purposes or for whatever reason, we've added a few of these. And if they're not listed, they should all work. I've yet to find one that doesn't work with our system. All right, so let's talk about the service though. When you get sign up with their service with the SIP trunk, you're going to get an account and you're going to get a DID. A DID is simply a 10-digit phone number, and you might have several DIDs with them. Okay. But when you get a call to one of those DIDs, they need to know where to send the call to. So it's going to go across an IP connection across the internet, and they need to know where, of all the IPs in the world, where to send that call to, that DID. Where's your device located? And so they'll need to know that. So there's 2 ways of identifying your IP address. One is they're going to simply ask you when you go to configure your account with them. They're going to say, all right, what's your IP address? And you're going to That means that you need to have a static public IP address that's assigned. It's going to be used for the SIP trunk. All right. Another method would be based on registration, just in the same way that the IP phones register to the system, and then when they register, that's how we're able to identify the IP address, and we can place the calls to those phones. The same thing would happen with the SIP trunk provider. When you register, you can register to their service, and they're going to give you a username and a password, and every hour you're going to need to register to them. All right, so that's so you're going to use one method or the other, but either way, we've got a configuration wizard that's going to help you configure those that account. Okay, so let's go to telephony and VoIP carrier, and you choose the ITSP. So there's, as I mentioned, there's quite a few listed that we've added here. If they're not listed, it's not a big deal. Just choose manual. The only thing that's going to gain you by, if one of those is already pre-listed, is already going to predefine the next page, the server settings. All right, and then you need to define whether they're going to, the service will be based on the IP address where they actually send all the calls to your IP, or if you're going to authenticate to them using the account username and password. So let's use the second method where we're going to register to them. Okay, so we're going to use an account. We'll just refer to it as test_ITSP, put in the password that they gave you, and their SIP server. It'll be either the domain, or it could be an actual IP address, the port number, typically 5060. And then over on the right hand side, you'll see the RTP proxy option. I would enable that one. The other settings aren't needed unless they specifically tell you so. Maybe they've got an alternative SIP server that they use. Click next. And this is the how you're going to place a call, outbound call, to that SIP trunk, whether you're going to dial by prefix, in which case it'd be the digit 9, or maybe it would be with a pattern where you pick up the phone and you dial, pick up the phone and dial 10 digits. Each digit's represented by a question mark, a single question mark. All right, in this case, let's do the digit 9. Emergency code, if I'm going to use it for 911. Maybe incoming calls to this main account. I want them to go to the auto tenant and fail over to the PSTN on my FXO ports. Click next, finish. Okay, it creates the account for me. All right, so if I go the extensions management table, it's going to do a couple things for me. The first thing it'll create an extension. In this case, extension 999. It's a virtual extension, it has no phone assigned to it, and it even tells you it was created by the VoIP voice over IP carrier wizard, and you can see the account. So let's look at the admin settings. We'll see the settings that were configured, and so you've got the username. Test_ITSP. There's the password that I entered. There's your IP address, and it will periodically go off and register to that service. Obviously, this is fictitious. It doesn't exist, so I'm going to turn that registration off. But currently, it would be trying to go out and register and trying to validate to their service. All right, if it was successful and it did register, okay, at that point you get an incoming call for the DID, and they're going to send that call to your office because now they know what your IP address is. Now, when that call arrives, we're going to check. We're going to do two things. First thing we'll do is check this extensions management table. We're going to try to find the DID that they're trying to reach. So in this case, it's going to start right here at the top of the list, and it's going to go through this SIP address field, and it's going to check every extension until it finds that DID. In this case, I've got a DID listed, 491, the 352, actually that's the account, it's not the actual DID, but so it would try to find that DID. Let's go into the say extension 103. That's the extension we've been playing with. Go in admin settings, SIP settings, and here I could actually put the DID number, the actual DID number, say like 972-692-1166, and save it. So it has, this is a place for either the username or the account name or the actual DID number. And by the way, you need to know exactly how they're sending you that DID. Maybe they've got a 1, they're sending you 1 plus 10 digits. If it's in an EIN format, there'll be a +1 in front of it, which is, we're using FlowRoute, and that's actually the way that they're sending that to me, as you'll see here in a moment. All right, so I put in the 10-digit phone number and save it. Okay, I go back to my extensions management, and you can see the DIDs listed. So it starts at the top of the table, finds that DID, finds a match, it rings the extension that it's assigned to. It's that simple. Okay, just assign the DID to the extension, and it'll ring the extension. Okay, if it gets to the bottom of the table and it still has not found the DID, at that point it's going to go to the call routing table. Okay, and so let's take a look and jump into the call routing table. It's a great chance to branch off. We'll look at the call routing table. So we go to telephony, and at the top we click on call routing. All right, so you can see some entries in here. So this is what I would call pretty much the heart of the system, the call routing table. Anytime the user picks up the phone, dial some digits. Those digits will be sent all at once, all together. They're going to be sent to the QX, and the QX is going to try to find a matching entry in the call routing table to try to figure out what to do with the digits that it just received. Okay, and those, let's look at some of the entries here. So let's say in the layout of this table. So you've got the some entries. I've got 15 entries created. I could put a check beside one of these entries. I can enable, disable the entry. I can add a new entry. I can edit the entry. I can duplicate an entry, which makes for saves some keystrokes from entering a duplicate. Maybe I've got similar information, several DIDs. I can quickly add those by just duplicating the entries. I can delete an entry, and again, the order in which these entries are listed may or may not be significant based on the digits that were received. So I can position the entry, and it will use the first matching entry that it finds. So I can move it up, move it down, or maybe move it to a specific location within the table. All right, so and then I've got the different patterns. So here I've got entry number 1. It says the user dial with an 8 and a star. I'm going to enlarge this just a little bit so you can hopefully see it a little better. Okay, so the user dial with an 8, and then there's a wild card or a star after that. So first digit was an 8. The digits after that, we don't care. They could have dialed 2 digits, 3 digits, 10, 20 digits. We don't care. It's a wild card. Then the destination pattern modification. This is number, NDS stands for the number of discarded symbols. Okay, it's a quantity. It's basically how many digits. The reason it's called symbols is because we're dealing with SIP. SIP can be